Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Microsoft 365 Copilot Developer Camp. We are so excited to have you all here. And before we jump into learning all about Copilot agents, Ravi and I thought maybe we should start with a game.
Yeah, I know what a travel enthusiast you are, Aja. So you have something in store to show us, right?
Yes, exactly. So I built this Copilot agent for Microsoft 365 Copilot, and this is a geolocator game. It actually asks you about some locations, cities, countries, and then we try to guess it. So should we play it together, Rabia?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Let's see what is our first location. Okay, iconic
Um,
opera house. What do you think it is?
I'm gonna read it a bit more. Yeah, just don't want to let down my folks. Yes, it's Sydney.
Okay, so I thought it's somewhere closer to you. Let's see. Okay,
Yes.
we nailed it. Let's play another round. Let's see this time where it is.
Oh,
Okay, canals,
sure.
cycling culture,
Hmm.
art museums. Oh, I have a guess. What do you think it is?
I am not sure. You're the one who travels, Aja. Help me out.
Okay, maybe Amsterdam?
Ooh.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, we are good. Okay, the final round. Let's
Yes.
play one more round and see what is the final destination.
Okay.
Oh, okay, pizza, pasta.
This is easy. I think Rome.
Okay, Rome.
Oh.
Oh, okay, not quiet. Where is
Um.
it? Take
Oh.
another shot. Do we need more hints?
Oh, oh, so Leaning Tower. Mm.
Oh, okay, Leaning Tower. Okay, is it pizza?
Yes, I'm not sure about the spelling though. Yeah, okay.
Yes, we've got it.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have a trick question to you, Rabia.
Mhm.
You see, the game is really fun and entertaining, all the emojis and stuff. How many lines of code do you think it took me to write this app?
You already gave it away, AJ. You said it's a trick question, so I'm thinking, why don't you show us because you built this one?
Right, let me show you. It is
Mm.
actually only 7 lines of code. This is a declarative agent. And in the JSON file, I only have 7 lines of code. We have an instruction text file. We define the prompt for this agent, and it only defines the behavior of the agent. This is a geolocator game. We give challenges to the players and entertain with humor, celebrate success. But that's all we did. And we only put the prompt and we have the game already. We are playing on screen.
Brilliant stuff, Aja. I can't wait to officially begin this event. We've got lots more in store, so let's hand it over to Rob and Barnum.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Microsoft 365 Copilot Developer Camp, an event for developers by developers, and we're super excited that you're tuning in. Now, we are all collective witnesses to the way Gen AI is rapidly and fundamentally transforming and enhancing productivity for all of us. It's helping us achieve more than we have ever before been able to. With tools like Copilot, we are no longer just using software. We're collaborating with our software. Now, at Microsoft, we're fortunate that we get to experiment with AI in several diverse domains on a daily basis. It's probably not a stretch to say Copilot has fundamentally enhanced the way we think, we work, we collaborate with our colleagues, and we innovate. It's an AI partner for us that helps us write, design, analyze, automate tasks, and it's been a game changer. But the bigger game changer is when we really scratch into it and we say, can we take the next step and integrate our software directly into Copilot? How do we get our information systems directly collaborating with Copilot, making Copilot the powerful AI that can work seamlessly and directly with all of our systems together? Now, to discuss exactly that, I have with me here today VP of Microsoft 365 Copilot Extensibility and Platform, the one, the only, Rob Howard. Hi, Rob. Welcome to Copilot Developer Camp.
Hey, Barnum. Hey, everybody. Really excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I couldn't be more excited about the opportunity, as you put it. It's an amazing, amazing time to be working in the industry, and this is an amazing time to be collaborating together on applying this technology in a way that can really transform the way that millions of people work.
Well, Rob, you seem really into Copilot like a lot of us. So, it's such a great opportunity to have you here with us today. I really wanted to ask you, can you give us some insight into how you and your team are viewing agents, Copilot agents, and extensibility for Microsoft Copilot? And how should developers really think about this paradigm of agents with Copilot?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe I'll start first, like many things at Microsoft, start with people. I'm sure people have heard our mission statement a bunch of times. It really does anchor on empowering people and organizations, and we're not sort of yet in this post-apocalyptic future where it's all agents. So it really does anchor on giving people the tools they need to be productive. And in this wave of generative AI, that looks like Copilot as this AI-powered personal assistant that's available to you throughout all of your work contexts, connected into all of the systems and data that you need to be productive. And it kind of serves as like this almost operating system for generative AI, this sort of device for generative AI. And if you think about that analogy, agents then add functionality, create these focused experiences in much the same way that an app adds functionality to a phone or an operating system. And it gives us this kind of focused unit of functionality that can bring the skills and knowledge that are required for specific business processes. So you can really kind of create that anchor, that sort of user experience that an individual can then apply to take the promise of this technology in generative AI and really deliver concrete business results. How do you make that quote to cash process go faster, close quicker, have lower costs? How do you transform the way that it works? It's by creating agents, connecting them into Copilot so that users can use them in the flow of work.
Wow. Obviously we get to play with these things a lot. So we have, the insight that, we love to share with developers all over. So thank you for sharing that. But I actually wanted to ask you, we've talked about agents as one thing, but actually there's different types of agents that people can go and build, especially, declarative agents and custom engine agents. How do you think about those, and what should developers really look for in choosing a pathway, or what are your thoughts on that, and how is the team thinking about that as we build these things?
Absolutely. To start with, I'll just clarify that from an end user perspective, we really do think there needs to be one type of agent. When somebody's using Copilot, when they're bringing an agent in for interaction, we don't think they need to worry about, like, was it built as a declarative agent or a custom engine agent? Hopefully that's just an implementation detail for developers, and that will provide consistent UX patterns and affordances for end users so they can get the same sort of experience out of both of those. But when it comes to developers, there are kind of two big paths to choose between. We've got a whole stack that we've built out to power the Microsoft 365 Copilot experience. And declarative agents let developers take kind of a configuration of that stack. What are the custom instructions, the descriptions, the knowledge, the capabilities from that stack you want to enable, the custom actions in other systems through REST APIs that you want to connect it to, and kind of create that configuration, and then load that configuration in so that it creates that focused experience for an end user around a specific business process, a specific user goal, a type of interaction, a domain of expertise, that kind of thing. On the other end of the spectrum, we've got a lot of customers and partners who are building out custom models, building out their own orchestration engines. They're not necessarily going to take advantage of a configuration of the Microsoft 365 Copilot stack. They're going to bring their own. And a lot of times that requires a whole lot more work. Building an orchestrator is a pretty big challenge. You may have to do a whole bunch of orchestration over lots of different user intents and be able to disambiguate those things in complicated ways. But if your scenarios require that, where you really do want to have kind of custom conversational workflows, or you want to incorporate a custom model in a deep way to implement that business process, you can go create a custom engine agent, which essentially integrates a kind of the messaging layer rather than taking the whole Copilot stack with it.
Awesome. Actually, we have to be frank and honest. We, even within our team, we've tried both declarative and custom engine agents, and we try and build samples for developers. And frankly, quite surprised and amazed at how much you can achieve with declarative agents as well. Like it's my own personal recommendation would be, try the declarative agents first. It's a much lower lift to begin with, and I think the amount of outcomes that are possible just to build on top of the bajillion the dollars worth of work that Microsoft has done to build the managed stack, the secure stack that we've already done. I think it's to me it's quite astounding what you can achieve, frankly, on top of that. And I'm really interested. As you have grown with Gen AI with us, what are there some aha moments? Are you using it creatively in your own work? Is your team doing this? I know we are, but I'm really interested in. And as you build the product, what are some of the ways that you're seeing innovation happen internally?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like almost anything else at Microsoft, when we want to work with customers and partners on doing something, a lot of times we start by building this out ourselves, using it in our own business processes, using our own day-to-day work. Often refer to that as dog food, and in our own when we're eating our own dog food there. There's been a bunch of really kind of amazing aha moments, especially about the sort of spectrum of scenarios that you can address with this. We have an amazing amount of capability just in that core capability of describing instructions. You got to think of like, hey, there's this magical prompt that is a thing that I've refined over many use cases, and I've really got it dialed in. And now I want to kind of encapsulate that as a reusable thing on its own, just with instruction. I mean, it's just natural language, the way you and I would talk with one another about what I would like Barnum to do for me. And I can encode that in an agent, and I have now this tool that I can basically use just English in order to program. And it's amazing the sorts of things that you can create just with that. One of my favorite use cases for generative AI is brainstorming. It's an awesome tool to like generate ideas with, go back and forth with. And I really like a specific style of brainstorming, which is, generate a whole bunch of broad ideas and get some input on which directions are interesting, and then zoom in on those and kind of fan out again. And that pattern you can just sort of describe in English to a custom agent, and you can then encapsulate that. And now I've got a brainstorming buddy that I use on a daily basis, for everything from brainstorming solutions to really difficult problems at work to ideas for a team morale event to I hope my wife is not watching. I did use this to brainstorm gifts for her recent birthday. They went really well, so exciting there. But that's at the very like simple, just use instructions end. You start to add in even just some basic things on top of that. For example, we support connectors to bring data from external systems into the same semantic index where a whole bunch of Microsoft 365 data is stored. So we've got connectors to, for example, like Azure DevOps. And we've built out agents that say, hey, here's a couple of documents that we use in order to report status. Here's a couple of repositories within Azure DevOps that have issues and work items. And here's a set of prompts and instructions for how to generate the newsletter that we send out every month from those data sources. And being able to then just use that agent to sort of go and access all of those data sources, draft out a response, be able to iterate using the language of generative AI, really powerful accelerator. And then, of course, you've got kind of full-on solutions end-to-end at Microsoft. We've got, for example, a help desk agent that's available to employees from across Microsoft that, yes, does have a whole bunch of knowledge bases to try and help me with my tech support issues when I run into them, but also is connected into systems like Intune via APIs so that you can do things like check on your device compliance status, and that can inform the guidance that you get back when you're trying to troubleshoot an issue for connecting to VPN, for example. So those kind of scenarios are a huge spectrum, all the way from something that I just do by writing it in text in natural language and then saving it and reusing it or sharing it with a work group, all the way to things that are built out through ProDev, integrating with existing or new APIs to create really advanced custom workflows.
The two most surprising things that you just told me was I'm no longer your brainstorming buddy, and you actually have an agent.
I'll still brainstorm with you. We can brainstorm together with my brainstorming buddy. How about that?
Wow. Okay. And the other thing that you also experience tech support issues. We're engineers in Microsoft. We are tech support for, well, at least for my family. So, but on that. I totally agree. What we're seeing from our customers, from partners, from developers all over who are trying this. The consistent feedback that we get is, we're only really tip of the iceberg with what's possible with agents. It's very encouraging to see how much more, how much better we become. With AI capability being added to our set of tools. Now, how do you see the space evolving for not just for us, but also for developers out there? I know we've already discussed, and talked about things like autonomous agents and the whole agentic universe becoming a lot bigger. So how do you see this space evolving? How are you thinking about it? How are you brainstorming with your new buddy about it and kind of leaving me out of the conversation? So I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. Well,
also envious.
I've hurt your feelings on the brainstorming buddy thing. We got to get a joint chat set up with the brainstorming buddy. But I am incredibly excited about this space, and I think maybe to touch on another thing that you were just saying there. Like any platform, really, we're given a set of building blocks. And the most exciting thing is to see all of the creativity and ingenuity that people bring to it. And, it's incredible to see a bunch of these solutions spring up, the types of things that folks are able to accomplish by combining just these sets of building blocks. And now that we have this sort of platform in place, if you think about all the work that we've done over the last year, to really refine and rationalize that Copilot stack, it's amazing how quickly this is progressing. And that is, now rolling out to customers in GA. And even over the next few weeks, there'll be a bunch more building blocks that we add in, new capabilities, things like code interpreter coming to declarative agents, and image generation as a capability coming to declarative agents. And all of those things, I think, in the right hands have this kind of multiplying effect. Code interpreters, a pretty incredible skill if you've ever used one like this, where it's essentially like, hey, I can express my intent with natural language, but it can be executed with imperative code. So it's actually, deterministic results, and you get these pretty magical possibilities from everything from data analysis all the way through custom UX. And so lots and lots of possibilities just in the more incremental building blocks that we are adding now and will continue to add over the next few weeks. But I think in a lot of ways, this is just the beginning. We're sort of adding this very first phase. It's like we've just added the ability to add apps into Copilot, and the types of apps that people build in the fullness of time will grow dramatically. A lot of that around this term that I think there's still a good debate on whether it's actually a word or not, agentic. But I think a lot of people have like expectations for what agentic means, and some of those things you'll see in the building blocks we've got today. The ability to go into a conversation in BizChat and have a turn with it to like generate. Here's a design. Let me generate this design brief from a document. Get back a result, and then in the next turn of the conversation, mention an agent who can actually take that design brief and then generate those media assets. I'm kind of doing lightweight orchestration across those agents. I can turn around and then mention another agent to have those media assets go update somewhere. So that kind of orchestration is really, really interesting precursor to a bunch of what we think is coming with these agentic behaviors as we add them on. Things like more proactive, triggered, and scheduled interactions. Right now, agents are very reactive. A lot of times, they sort of only act when I send it a prompt and it gives me a response. Well, lots of magical things can happen when an agent can respond to, hey, this thing changed in the middle of the night when you weren't even watching, and I am waking up and reacting at that point. Or just on a regular schedule, that newsletter that we send every week about what's going on in this ADO repository. Hey, do that every Monday morning. Have a draft ready for me when I show up with my coffee, that kind of thing. Within those workflows, being able to have kind of longer running, more complex and compound workflows so that I can sort of string together lots of different actions. And it's not that I ask an agent to do something and it has to come back in 20 seconds, but it can go off and say, okay, I got it. I'm gonna work on that. It'll take me some time. It can continue to sort of update me as it makes progress. And then it can gather my attention and say, hey, I'm done. You need to check this work. And that kind of long-running asynchronous task works really well. And then if you sort of add all those pieces together, that sort of proactive outreach, the asynchronous interactions, the orchestration that you can do across different agents today manually, but with the advancements that we're seeing in models to be able to do more structured reasoning, the ability over time to actually use the model itself to kind of orchestrate across those agents and create these multi-agent systems. Really, really exciting stuff. And it all kind of builds incrementally on this foundation that we're starting from now, which makes me even more excited for what we'll see in this immediate future, and then how that will really define the future of the way that people get work done and the way that business works based on this platform.
Awesome. It is what you just talked about, the asynchronous workflows enabling that. This happened while you were not here on Teams or whatever, right? This is so true for us. This is like, our team is spread all over the world. Microsoft spread all over the world. Our customers are all over the world. We're 24/7, and I think, if just from the advent of Copilot into our lives, I can personally attest that it's made me a lot more aware of a lot of things that I probably would just be, it would go into the chasm of my always inflated inbox and or notification bar. So it's I think it's definitely helped me and helped our team, and it's good to here again, that we're expanding the tool set for everybody. We're adding AI capability to everybody's tool belt more and more. And as the groundswell of work that a Microsoft does in the background for the orchestration layer, for example, I think something that the security and orchestration layer to me is honestly the biggest reason to go declarative first, honestly, for me, and just that level of heavy lifting that Microsoft has done enables, honestly, any scenario in a secure, manageable, well orchestrated way to be possible with AI.
Yeah, it's a really important point, and I think the fact that these tools are sort of natively integrated both with the tools that you're using, they're inside of Outlook, they're inside of Word, they're inside of PowerPoint. And so they understand the context of your work. And they're also connected to that graph of data that underpins all those applications. That means that whole stack is even more powerful, because rather than having to sift through all of my data and copy everything out into a place where I don't have the right security and information protection and compliance promises into some other system and then use AI there to process it, I can do it in situ. I can have AI be a part of deciding which are the relevant pieces of information from this broad body of content. It can do it right when I'm sitting inside of this tool. I'm not doing a whole bunch of copy and pasting and alt tabbing. It understands the context of what I'm working on natively. So really, really powerful scenarios when you kind of combine all of those things together, take the possibilities of this technology, really focus it on real business problems, not just sort of like toy technology demos, but say, how can we make this concrete process that people do every day that drives our business forward better? Really just incredible possibilities for the industry.
Yeah, truly. Thank you so very much, Rob, for that insight. Even though we're no longer brainstorming buddies, I hope we can restart that relationship soon. But we've got a very exciting show today. Thanks for joining us, and for everybody tuning in, devs all over the world. We've got a very exciting show today. So without further ado, and I actually want to hand over to the next segment where Robbie and Bob will talk a little bit deeper and get into declarative agents and how you can build them. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Happy building.
That was a great session. Thank you so much, Rob and Barnum. Now let's dive deep into declarative agents. Microsoft 365 Copilot needs no introduction at this point. We all know it's the ultimate AI assistant for Microsoft 365. And most of you have seen this slide. Microsoft 365 Copilot has 4 components: large language model, the internet, Microsoft Graph, and Microsoft 365 apps. However, its broad capabilities can sometimes feel too general when you need a more tailored experience. Understanding that every business is unique, we have Copilot agents to offer a tailored Copilot experience for your specific and distinctive business processes. Now let's look at what makes up an agent. Here's the anatomy of a Copilot agent. We'll start from the bottom. Foundation models are AI models that can perform a wide range of tasks like language processing, visual comprehension, text generation, etc. Orchestrator oversees and synchronizes pre- and post-processing of the user prompts. Knowledge is the information Copilot can reason over to answer user prompts like RAG and other information. Skills are tasks that Copilot can perform on your behalf, like getting real-time data from an API. Triggers help Copilot take reactive, proactive actions and facilitate automation. And instructions, it will show you how Copilot should behave, its scope, and its functionalities. Agents look and function like Copilot, but they tailor the experience to a specific use case. They focus on the data that's applicable for your business needs, and this data can be inside or outside of Microsoft 365. And they can be equipped with skills like calling your APIs, sending emails, etc. Now imagine a HR agent that specializes in human resource data and tasks. It would be your personal assistant for all your HR-related inquiries. While using the AI assistant, you could ask your HR agent something like, compare employees' turnover rates between departments over the past year, or show me the upcoming schedule for staff training programs. Now, there are two main options for adding agents to Copilot: declarative agents and custom engine agents. We will cover custom engine agents a bit later, but today in this session, we will focus on declarative agents. Declarative agents effectively layer on your custom instruction on top of the baseline of Microsoft 365 Copilot to behave as specialists. The advantage of declarative agents is its simplicity in development and in quicker time to market compared to a fully custom solution. So you've already paid the license for Microsoft 365 Copilot. No, you don't need to provide an LLM or develop an orchestration code, and you could have rich integration to present your application across Microsoft 365 Copilot. And you also have out-of-the-box grounding in Microsoft 365 content. And you could also connect your external API. With that understanding of declarative agents, let's see a demo of how to build one from scratch using pro developer tools. So I will hand it over to my colleague, Bob German.
Thanks, Rabia. Let me take a minute now and show you how we develop a declarative agent in using Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code. So I've already installed Teams Toolkit here. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and create a new app. And I'm going to get prompted and I'll pick Copilot agent. I want a declarative agent without a plugin. We'll see those later. And I need to decide where I want to put this on my local storage drive. And let's just call this test agent. And Teams Toolkit is going to generate the project for me and bring up a new instance of Visual Studio Code. So this is kind of ready to go, but I'm going to just show you a couple things. Let me go into the manifest. This manifest file is kind of standard in all Microsoft 365 applications. And what we have here is a pointer to the declarative agent file. The declarative agent file is just a JSON file. So if you know how to edit a JSON file, you can build these without really a whole ton of additional training. It's amazingly simple. So you can see that there's a name and a description, and there's a pointer to some instructions. And if we look at the instructions, the sort of out-of-the-box instructions are just going to say, to be nice, I'm going to add, if anybody mentions camping, please suggest that they go to Copilot Developer Camp. Of course, we have to put in a little plug for ourselves. And that's it. So it's just natural language. Doesn't even have to be English. Whatever your native language is will work here. And so I'm going to go ahead and click the provision button. Now, you might think that I should be clicking the debug button, but there's no imperative code to debug, right? Everything is inside of, that's why they call it a declarative Copilot, right? Everything is declarative. So now if I go into Copilot, having deployed it or provisioned it, I can open up the side panel, and that's where the agents live. I should see my test agent. There it is. And I'm just going to go ahead and use one of the standard prompt suggestions because I didn't add any of those to my declarative agent file. And what I get is a nice, polite mention of Teams Toolkit. And so let's try that special prompt. I want to go camping. And it's going to say, hey, thanks for using Teams Toolkit. It sounds like a great idea. Camping is a wonderful way. Have you considered attending Copilot Developer Camp, right? So isn't that perfect? So, but this is just the beginning. What you're seeing is simply instructions. So basically prompt augmentation that's built in. Where it gets really powerful is when we use capabilities to bring specific focused Microsoft 365 content into your agent and actions where we use a normal REST API to take action and to pull in data that you have in your applications outside of Copilot. If you want to see more about that, just stay tuned because Waldeck Mastercards and Gary Trinder are going to go deep on that in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, let me show you Copilot Camp or Copilot Developer Camp. This is a website where you can actually build all of this yourself. So, well, an announcement for this broadcast, of course. We have videos, including the original, this is the Wave 2 Copilot announcement from Jared Spataro and Satya Nadella. We have briefings on all the different types of agents, and then the pièce de résistance is the hands-on labs. You can learn to build declarative agents, build an API, add the declarative agent, enhance it, add adaptive cards, and even add Enter ID authentication step by step in these hands-on labs. And there's another whole set for building your own agent, which you'll also hear more about that from Aisha Bash a little bit later in this broadcast. And there's more videos. And then if you scroll down a bit, you'll find Copilot Camp in a Box, where we have slides that you can download if you want to do an in-person Copilot Developer Camp for your community. We would absolutely love that. Some of these decks have embedded video slides to make it really easy for you. We have discussions, and there are even more labs on Microsoft Learn that are coming along every day. And so we have pointers to that. So I'm really pleased to introduce you to the Copilot Camp virtual workshop, and I hope you'll join us. So please visit aka.ms/Copilot Dev Camp to dig into all this great content. But before you do that, I want to introduce the amazing Donna Sarkar and Jeremy Thake. I'm sure you've seen them in the conference circuit before. They're both world famous and extremely deep technically. They're going to talk about the future of declarative agents. So let's go.
Hello, everyone. Are you enjoying Microsoft 365 Dev Camp? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Okay, so you've heard a lot about declarative agents from Bob and friends, but we thought, you know what, we're gonna bring in an expert to get a little more behind the scenes drama, okay? Because declarative agents are actually super, super cool because they're easy to create, easy to customize, and do stuff with. So we decided to pull Jeremy, who works on the product team, to come and explain himself and his product. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I love the way you say expert.
Expert.
Is anyone really an expert in AI at this point?
Well, I would say no one and everyone if you agree to the Twitter bros, right? Yeah. Okay, so tell us, what is a declarative agent for people who have absolutely no idea what we're talking about?
Yeah, good question. So there are Copilot agents which can live inside of BizChat and Teams. There are two types.
Okay.
There's declarative agents and there's custom engine agents.
Yes.
The way I like to compare the two is a declarative agent is something where effectively as a developer, you're writing a bunch of JSON files to declaratively explain, you see, what an agent does. And that can be instructions about the agent.
Yes.
It can be things like capabilities, as well as things like, I want a plugin or a graph connector as part of this agent. The custom engine agent is more about bringing your own model, bringing your own orchestrator,
It's
a lot more
DIY.
sophisticated. Yeah,
it's
you've got to
like
bring all
DIY.
that with you.
Yes, or
So-
you build it some AI solution somewhere and migrate it over here.
That's right. And so
Some
for me, it's the
multi-channel.
benefit of the fact that you've already invested in Copilot as a
Yes.
license in M365,
Yes.
and you have the ability to go create these agents
Right.
without investing in additional infrastructure and get
Right.
all the beautiful things that we get out of our orchestrator and our model.
Okay, so this is a very good way for people to get started with agentic capabilities in Microsoft 365 because you can just see what's out of the box.
It's an awesome way if you're just starting to play. You don't have to go to your boss and go, hey, I need an Azure resource. Can you give me a finance and budget?
Yes.
If you've got a Copilot license you're using for your normal job, which I use every day and love it,
Every day.
you can also then go build your own. And you can build them inside of Agent Builder, which is built directly into BizChat.
Yes.
And even as a developer, like I still like doing that because it's very quick to get going with
Yes.
things. But then once you've ideated there, you then want to pull into Pro Code into Visual Studio
Yes.
because then you have the ability to do things like connect it to graph connectors and build your own plugins that go and point to other API services.
Right.
And that's what really unlocks the world of like
Yes.
how far a declarative agent can go without needing your own model on your orchestrator.
I think there's so much you can do with it because just yesterday, in preparation for this, I created my own declarative agent.
There we go.
That teaches me to do a responsible AI, air quotes, as a developer. Like, what exactly does transparency mean in responsible AI?
Yep.
In some sort of an AI product, right? I don't know. It turns out it's way simpler than I thought, but I had my agent explain it to me. So I think it's very powerful that you can start with, hey, point to SharePoint site, ground in this data.
Yep.
Suddenly you've got an agent ready to rock. But once you say, actually, I've got, an API to this service over here, or I've got this third-party data store. I want to actually do the graph connector thing. I want to go, do a two-way connector. I actually can do that right from M365 BizChat or Teams or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just out of the box.
And I think the nice thing is that there is a lot of power in those instructions. So when you're writing the instructions to explain what your agent can do, and we've just put a new page online that gives you examples of the instructions to really make it rock.
Right.
And different things you can do about how it challenges you on questions. Like you open up your agent, you start having a conversation. If you're not feeding it the information it needs to help you, it prods you and provokes you to get that information off of you.
Yeah.
So it's much more advanced than what I think people initially thought you could do with just a bunch of declarative instructions. But the real power is, on top of those instructions, is getting at those external systems.
That's exactly it.
And so for
That's
me,
exactly it.
if I want to go get updates on my team and what they're working on, I've basically built one that uses an API plugin to connect to GitHub. And I'm just asking my declarative agent, what's the status of this project? And it's going to go get me the answers from GitHub and respond.
Yeah.
If I'm using the product and I have issues, I can create an issue straight from that agent and it will go create it in that GitHub repo. So I never have to leave that tool. I can now have a conversation. So, and that's really simple to do.
Yeah. What I love is, first of all, this really helps your team because now Jeremy's not like, hey, where are you at with this thing? You're like, go look in GitHub, boss. And now your agent can actually do it for you.
Right. And it's not just that one system. Like the Viva goals where we track all of our OKRs. I can just ask that one agent and get answers both off GitHub and from Viva goals in one place. And so I think if developers in an enterprise or if you're an ISV, you're thinking those scenarios of these multi-system type things that need a question that an agent can answer, this very simple concept can really open up a whole slew of things that you can go solve. And taking it back to your business and showing different business units within your org, this is what you can do, I think is killer.
Yeah, I love just these scenarios because this is something every engineer, engineering manager, every leader, honestly, you've got somewhere where you track work and somewhere where you're tracking goals. And to be able to put them together and say, how are you tracking towards your goals? Versus having to go now create a slide deck and have to correspond these.
And the nice thing is even today, I was talking to one of the people in my team and I was going to go scramble over to my calendar, like, when's my next one-on-one with her? Because I really want to talk about this in more depth.
Yeah.
And in the one-on-one chat with teams, I mentioned Copilot, the bigger Copilot, and said, when's my next one-on-one with Mazer? And it answered.
Hey!
And I was like, and she saw the answer too.
That.
And so again, there's all these solving things you can do with agents, not just in living in BizChat, but inside of teams. And that can be in a one-on-one chat, a group chat, or a channel chat. And so there are lots of times where maybe I want to share the GitHub status of a particular issue. I'm in a channel with the team. I don't have to go into GitHub, copy and paste it over and do it. I just ask the agent in line and it responds.
Yeah.
And if someone goes, oh, that status is wrong, they can mention the agent and go, update the status of that issue. And so there's going to be a lot of those interactions that You don't have to be in BizChat, you can be in Teams.
Yeah.
And then the other really brilliant thing that we're introducing is now you'll be able to do that in Word and PowerPoint and Outlook as well.
Oh, I like that.
So if I'm in Word, I'm drafting a spec,
Yes.
I can have BizChat on the side there and ask it questions.
Yeah.
And then for now, the response you can copy and paste into Word for now.
For now.
But in the very future, you'll be able to tell the declarative agent to just inject that thing into the Word document or inject it into the slide. And so effectively, you're building your Word document by having a conversation with the agent based on your business data, not just within M365 realms, but every other system you've got connected to too.
You know what I love about this? You're meeting devs where they are, because you're saying the tools you use are GitHub, are Teams, our BizChat, whatever, and soon Word, PowerPoint, because necessarily evil, right, for devs even to get out of Visual Studio and actually go communicate using words. And what you're doing is giving every dev their own project manager that they can use to kind of track the status of what they're working on without them having to take so much time out to actually drop this.
I already have like 7 or 8 declarative agents I've built that I use every day. Yeah. And so I think that's just going to be a pattern we see. Yeah. Both built in Agent Builder, but also in Visual Studio, where I'm like, oh, okay, I can't quite do that in Agent Builder. Now it's time to get out of Visual Studio and start using the toolkit and building these themselves.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so many options. Everyone go and try it. But what is some advice you have for devs to say, how do you get the most out of these tools?
Yeah, I think with a lot of tech, the playground and just trying things, I think about something that is really repetitive to do.
Yes.
And like, is that something I could script into instructions? And is there a system that I'm going to in a web browser where I could just get the API call and wrap that up in an API plugin and get it through?
Yeah.
That's going to be the quickest way to success.
Yeah.
And then showcase that with your team, showcase it with your org.
I love that.
And then it just opens up a wealth of opportunities. And then they'll start coming back to you going, hey, we'd really like an agent that plugs into our sales thing or plugs into this thing. And once you've got that rhythm going in the toolkit of connecting through, it makes things super easy.
I love this because you're saying what is a thing you do a lot, and probably every person around you also does this, and figure out how you can invite AI to participate and help just make this easier for you.
And I think the future is the AI is going to get better.
That's right.
Our agents will get better.
The models will get better.
Eventually, we'll get to this agentic level that they'll be talking to each other and you'll kick one off and it will go tell another thing and do another thing. And then it will just make our lives a lot easier.
Right. And then we can go on vacation more.
That's right.
Which is the ultimate goal. All right. So, Jeremy, thank you so much for being here.
No, you're welcome.
And all of you, thank you for tuning in. To find out more, you're going to go to aka.ms Copilot Dev Camp, okay? aka.ms Copilot Dev Camp. And now we're going to ship you back to Waldeck and Gary.
Hey everyone, so in this session, we're going to talk about extending declarative agents. So we're going to talk about how you can extend declarative agents in 2 ways. Those ways are skills and knowledge.
Yeah, so you mentioned knowledge and skills. Like, what are these two? Because I can imagine something with it, but I'd like to know for sure.
Okay, so first of all, should we just get into skills? Should we just see it? Like, see it in action, right? Okay, cool. So here I've got our TradeGenie declarative agent. You might have seen this in the previous session. So what we're going to show is how this declarative agent is going to use an API plugin, right? And this is going to be a skill. So suppose you're a project manager at Trade Research, and you want to find a developer quickly with a specific skill. You want to assign them to a project. Okay, you're at Trade Research, and you've got a project management system that holds information about developer skill sets and your project information as well. And you've got an API on that system to interact with that data. So with a API plugin and a declarative agent, we can empower that declarative agent to basically go and get that data or help us update it as well. So let's take a look at our declarative agent, and let's go and find some developers that know TypeScript. So we've got 2 developers, Avery and Sanjay. So we can see that our plugin has returned information from our project management system. So now we're going to assign Sanjay to our project. So this is how a post can happen. First of all, actually, what it does is it confirms the what you want to do first. And actually, we made a mistake. We didn't want 20 hours. We wanted 80 hours for Sanjay on this project. And we posted that, and we got a confirmation back from the API plugin as well to say, hey, yeah, I've gone and done this on your behalf in another system through the declarative agent. So if we move on to the what a skill actually does, is that it empowers your declarative agent to act upon a user request. So our project manager put in an action that it wanted the declarative agent to perform. The declarative agent knew that it had an API plugin that could handle that request, and it went and did that for the user just using natural language.
Right. So the interesting part is, right, it looks really, really cool. Like you can just have a chat in the language you understand, and when that communicate with an external system or an app. Sounds very elaborate. Is that though? Shall we have a look at how it actually works in practice behind the scenes?
Let's go for it.
Perfect. All right. Let's have a look at some code. So this is a code of an agent. If you build one, you know exactly what this is, right? It has a name, description, instructions. So this is really the basic stuff. The plugin or the interaction part between the agent and the external app through an API, right, comes exactly here as an action, right? So in here, we have a reference that this agent is able to invoke an action. What is an action? In this case, it's an API plugin, right? So an agent can connect to an API. And when you build a plugin, it really isn't that elaborate, right? Because like what you do is you're actually doing two things. Like first of all, you define the functions that the action can invoke, right? So, or the agent can invoke. So in this case, it can get consultants. What else it can do? It can get user info. It can do projects. It can get info about project and so forth and so on. So basically that way you instruct the agent what are the different operations that this plugin allows it to do. So that is one. Two, another thing you need to do, because like at some point, the agent will want to call the API. How does it know how to do that? Well, in here, you add a runtime. So for every API you want to call from the agent, you add this part. You say like, hey, this is an open API that like you have the description of it in open API, and you link to a spec. And then you say, for the function that I have in this agent or in the plugin, invoke this API. So this is kind of how you map the functions from here with the definition of the API, because so far you haven't seen a URL, like any URL in here. Where's the URL? You ask, the URL is in the API spec. All right, so in here you see a basic open API spec for this API. The interesting part is this token here that allows you to, on the fly, expose the URL of the API you run on your box over internet, so that Copilot and the agents you use can call the API on the local box, which is perfect when you actually build the API as well. And then in here, you have all the paths and operations that this API supports. And then basically with these three things in place, the agent knows how to go all the way from the user's prompt to an API to get the data or post the data and get back a response.
So, Waldo, you've just shown quite a lot of things there, I guess, to really kind of simplify this. So if you have an API in your organization and you have an API spec, you can create an API plugin, right?
Exactly that. So it's really these two elements, API and API spec. There's a little bit of thing you need to add, but it's basically just to explain it to the agent. How does it need to interact with the API?
Yeah, so a rich API spec with really good descriptions is, going to help then declarative agent say, yeah, I've got something that can go get me that information. I'm going to get a response for you. So fantastic. Okay, so we talked about skills, right? And we talked about API plugins. So one thing we mentioned at the beginning was knowledge. So
Exactly.
let's take a bit of a moment to talk about knowledge. So when we talk about knowledge, it's really providing more information to the declarative agent and the foundational model that the declarative agent uses to provide more context, because it just has its training data, right? And that training data could just be public information, but it's not your business data, right? You want your business data to be reasoned over by that declarative agent. One way that you can extend that knowledge is to use a graph connector. And a graph connector helps you take content and ingest that into Microsoft 365. Because it's part of Microsoft 365, the declarative agent can then reason over that content as well. You can just say, "Hey, I've got this content here. I want you to use this," right? When you're given an answer. So, should we take a look? See what that looks like?
Definitely. I was just about to ask, let's see it in action, because that's really like the best way to learn things.
Great. So, back to our TradeGenie declarative agent. So in this scenario, we're capturing feedback as our project manager. We're capturing feedback from customers about developers who are working on the projects, and we're going to store those in documents in our project management system. So we want to use that graph connector to take that content in those documents and ingest it into Microsoft 365, and then say to our declarative agent, "Hey, here's some source of information that I want you to use in your answers." So let's get some feedback for our developers. So we'll find our developers. We'll use the plugin that we've shown before to get our TypeScript experts, and then we're going to check for feedback from clients as well. And what's really cool is that we're able to use both a plugin and data ingested by a graph connector in the same conversation, and we can see that the information that's been returned is it's got citations as well, so we know that it's come from these external documents, and we can see elements of these documents actually in context as well. So it knows, hey, this feedback for Avery, and is able to give that response. So shall we take a look at the code?
Definitely,
see how this all works?
Like, this looks really, really cool, because you have the ability to provide additional content to the agent, right, coming from an external storage. And it's interesting part, like, how does that end up here? How does that external blob and feedback that we capture and store ends up here in the responses that the agent shows to users? So let's have a look at the code. Cool. We are right back with the agent, right? And when you think about connecting it to a connector, we go to another part in here where we go to connectors. And in here, we have the ability to pass the ID of the connection that we want to use. This part is really it. There is not more to it, right? So when you build an agent and you integrate it with a data source that's coming from a connector, the agent assumes that the connector, that the connection is already there, right? So you don't need to do anything else in the agent. You've done all the hard work inside a connection. How does that look like? Well, if you like, the connection and the connectors and connections have been around for a while, right? So that part isn't new. But in case you haven't built one yet, let's have a quick look at what a connection actually is, because it isn't really that hard. In essence, it's 3 calls to Microsoft Graph. That is what a connector is. It's a piece of code that runs 3 calls to Graph and allows you to bring external content from any place you have it stored, whether that's API, database, file system, whatever it is, to Microsoft Graph, so that it's available to things like Microsoft 365 Search, Copilot, and so forth and so on. So again, 3 calls to Microsoft Graph. The first call creates a connection. And the connection in this case is a container into which you upload the content that you ingest from your external source to Microsoft 365. So this is the call you have to do. Like, you call the Microsoft Graph and you pass in things like the connection or the connection ID, which is exactly what you use in the agent. You pass the name, description, and you're done. Like, that is really it. The other thing is schema, right? So that defines the shape of the data that you want to ingest, and it can be anything you want, right? So again, call number 2 to Microsoft Graph, you create schema, and you define that yourself based on what you need for the content. In this case, we have title, we have abstract, consultant, let's modify it in URL, right? So you define that shape. You're building up basically a search index on Microsoft 365. The final part is ingesting the content itself. And the way it works, like if you know that term, ETL, extract, transform, load. So you get the content from the source, you change its shape so that it will match the schema that you have in Microsoft Graph, and you load it to Microsoft Graph. And that load is the third call to Microsoft Graph, which is exactly that. You are uploading, you are adding the items that you want to ingest to Microsoft Graph. This is really it.
Great. So again, it's something simple. It's a simple process. You mentioned there's 3 graph calls, right? You're creating your connection, creating your schema, loading in your data, pretty straightforward. And there's other benefits, right? Above Copilot here and using this content in declarative agents, we can use it in Microsoft Search as well. So you get more benefits of doing that. Okay, great. We've talked about skills and we've talked about knowledge, and they both seem similar, right? They're both ways of getting data into the declarative agent to provide extra context, extra information. But there are differences, right? So when would we use one versus the other?
Right. So I think we have seen two examples. Like the first one that we had was you get structured info from a database. Like that is that, and you want to get it in real time because the data might change a lot, right? So that is typically a job for a plugin, like real time connection to another app, or you want to update things. Right? So you would use it for that. When you deal, on the other hand, with a document, a report, that is a job for a connector, because then you get to benefit from the search index that we have on Microsoft 365. You don't need to build your own search and expose it via an API. You can upload the document to us, to Microsoft 365, and you get to benefit from the search engine that we have on Microsoft 365, not to mention of all the experiences where you will be able to see the content like Microsoft 365 Search, Copilot, and other experiences too.
Great. So yeah, great kind of summary there. So plugins, structured data, graph connectors, unstructured data, as simple as we can make it. So with everything that we've talked about, I guess, the benefits of extending a declarative agent with these two approaches, what is it, was it really all about, right?
Right, exactly. Like the thing is, like, if you want to benefit from the declarative agents or from Copilot in the workplace, you should really think about being able to connect the agents to the other app systems that you have in the workplace, because then you will be able to complete your core business work through it, as opposed to still having to use the different disconnected apps, right? So that is really, if you really want a benefit of that, think about, like, give it a thought, how you connect Copilot and agents that you build to your external systems.
Great. Couldn't have said it better myself. So with that, everyone, stay tuned to learn more about developing Microsoft 365 Copilot. But first, let's have a doodle break.
Hey, I'm Tomomi. How are you all doing? I hope you are enjoying the DevCamp so far. And in this short segment, I'll summarize what declarative agents are with some fun doodles. So here's a Microsoft 365 Copilot on BizChat, and you see all available agents at the right-hand side. Declarative agents are like customized version of Copilot for specific domains and tasks. For example, this agent was built for Contoso confectionery employees to help with their sweet pastry business. Not only do declarative agents look like Copilot, but they are also hosted on top of the Copilot orchestrator and the foundation models. This means every agent utilizes the large language models that Copilot uses, and it can access data from Microsoft Graph, along with the information from the internet. When you create a declarative agent, the tailored experiences work seamlessly with additional brand-in data, like SharePoint docs, graph connectors, and a web search. You can also connect external data sources on demand. This includes plugins that make API calls. For example, the Cupcake agent connects your CRM data to enhance customer interactions. It also connects to an external inventory database via API, and the data can be edited directly from the agent UI by users. I hope this helped you. So I'll be back for more. So see you soon.
Welcome back, and welcome to our panel discussion. I'm Todd Englund, a cloud advocate here at Microsoft, and we've assembled a great panel here today to really talk about AI and agents and to bring their insights into today's discussion. So far, we've learned a lot about how developers can build for Copilots. You've seen a lot about declarative agents. We now really want to pick the brains of some experts here and get some additional insights. And to do that, we have with us some esteemed guests. Pablo Castro is Corporate Vice President at Microsoft. Hello, Pablo. We'll talk to you in just a minute. Yina Arenas, also Vice President at Microsoft, and John Miller, Senior Product Manager at Microsoft, working on Team Toolkit. So we've got a lot to get through. We don't have much time, so we're going to jump right into it. And Yina, I'm going to go to you first. You kind of have a unique perspective for today's audience. You've spent some time working in Microsoft 365 on things like Microsoft Graph. Now you lead teams in Azure AI, working on Azure Core. Thinking about all of that and developer tools, how do you see the future of Copilot agents and developer experience and AI? How does all that mesh together from what you see in your part of the world?
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Todd, for the question. It's definitely an exciting time for developers everywhere. The future of Copilot agents and AI in developer workflows is all about, I'll say, unlocking new possibilities to the innovation of new use cases that developers can build upon. So with Copilot agents, these are evolving into versatile assistants that can be tailored to feed a wide range of development scenarios. For example, developers can create custom AI-powered tools that automate repetitive coding tasks. They can generate boilerplate code or even build entire modules based on high-level descriptions. They can develop intelligent debugging agents and not only identify issues, but also suggest fixes by analyzing code patterns and dependencies. Now, when we think about the extensibility of platforms like Microsoft 365 and all of the things that come with Microsoft 365 Copilot and the robust set of capabilities that we have on Azure AI, developers can build domain-specific agents that integrate seamlessly with their existing tools and services. So imagine, for example, crafting AI agents that understand your project's unique context, whether it is healthcare or finance or any specialized field, and provide insights and code suggestions that are highly relevant to your domain. These AI agents can also facilitate better collaboration by integrating with team communications tools, like, for example, Outlook or Teams, automating code reviews, automating other set of workflow capabilities, and the possibilities to extend to enhance security and developing agents just detect vulnerabilities or enforce compliance and coding standards. So in a nutshell, the possibilities are endless, whether it is improving developer productivity or creating new set of scenarios that integrate the productivity set of landscape and world that Microsoft 365 has with all of the pro code tools that Azure has to offer. So, whether it's transforming developer workflows by enabling us to build smarter applications or, paving the way on the future of AI to bring in all of the AI capabilities into the day-to-day for our customers, all of these are part of bringing innovative solutions to life more efficiently than we could ever do before.
Yeah, well, that certainly sounds exciting. Lots of opportunity to both improve the way we work as developers and to change the way other people work. And bringing the integration sounds pretty key to that. So, integrations obviously implies data, and data we know is pretty important to these agents that you're describing. And Pablo, there seems to be no other better expert to go to than you to ask about that. How do you see things like Azure AI Search fitting into this AI landscape and how we bring data into these scenarios to make smarter agents? How should developers think about that?
Yeah, great question. Thanks. Like Yina was saying, one of the key elements of these agents when they really come alive is when they can connect with your processes, your data, your workflows. So as part of that, you want agents that understand your business, what's going on, everything from maybe policy all the way to all your numbers, like your data warehouse or what's going on in your applications. And to do all of this, you want to kind of connect all these kind of language models that back these agents with the data that you care the most about. For this, we typically use retrieval systems. There is this pattern that has emerged called the retrieval augmented generation pattern. And the central observation of that is that you want to have the capability for reasoning that agents bring to the table and to kind of orchestrate and whatnot with grounded information that is captured in an external knowledge base. And the search engines are effectively what allows these models to ask questions of the knowledge base, pull the data that is relevant to whatever is the task at hand, and then use that data to either respond to the user or decide how to perform a task or anything else the agent may be trying to do. Now, in that context, Azure AI Search is the kind of the retrieval solution for Azure. And our goal is that there's a lot of moving parts to creating a retrieval solution, from acquiring the data, pre-processing it to make it ready for the scenario, put it into search indexes so it's really fast when you're asking questions, and then getting you the best answer for a question. So the goal of Azure Search is to make it so that you don't need to become an expert in the search domain before you can accomplish all of it. We will take care of things like data ingestion for you, connect to the data sources, keep track of changes and all of that. We'll do all the data prep for you. If you're an expert and you want the control, you can have it. But if you just want to get started real quick, we'll make sure you can do that as well. And then at search time, we've done a ton of work to create a rich query stack, like search query stack, that does all the things that the most sophisticated search engines out there do. All these re-ranking machine learning models that people use for search quality, they're all built in. So you can start by just going in, putting all your data, enabling all the capabilities, and you get a very strong starting point for a search engine. And then from there, we'll give you a lot of room so that as you learn more and you want to tweak more, you can have the control to make the system do exactly what you want. And Azure AI Search doesn't sit in isolation. This fits the rest of the AI platform. It works well with AI Studio. It works great with all the databases in Azure AI. And generally, like you'll find the system that you don't need to do extra work to integrate. It's all kind of designed together.
Yeah, I love the story because it's kind of like we're talking about today with agents. Where you can do declarative agents if you want to take advantage of a lot of the things we've already built into the system, so you can just get straight to an outcome. Or if you want full control, as we'll talk about after this segment, you can do custom engine agents, or you can really take full control, sort of like a similar story you're describing here for Azure AI Search. And I think really great compliment to people building agents and having declarative, easy, out-of-the-box options ready to go, and then customization. But clearly, to build any of those things, tooling plays a big role, and especially as we're trying to build these agents for M365 Copilot. And there, you really need the right tools to bring all this together and kind of help jumpstart that process. And John, I want to go to you, and maybe you could just help. We've seen a little bit of it in the earlier segments today, but can you help developers understand how they can get started using Teams Toolkit? And what about Teams Toolkit makes it easier to go begin the process of building these agents?
So the easiest way to get started with the toolkit is probably to use the Teams app CLI. So you can download and install the app CLI, and then that allows you to create projects and run kind of all of our automation steps that we've built to help make kind of the setup that you would have to do these things a little faster for you, so you can really save some time. So that will allow you to create custom engine agents, declarative agents, whichever that you prefer. We also have tons of other project types so that you really get templates and samples to start with, so you can save some time there. From there, you can provision the remote way you want to host this in Azure. So we have lots of templates and samples for doing infrastructure, and then we have tooling around that to help you provision them and then deploy them. And once you are comfortable with that, you want to maybe have different environments for testing versus locally or remotely. Then you can publish your app to these platforms. And so we kind of have tooling to start you with templates and samples, and then go through kind of your iteration through provisioning in different environments. And then when you're ready to do this, you could set up CI/CD system if you want, and then publish these things. So kind of an end-to-end journey to help you get started all the way till you want to publish them.
Yeah, and that CI/CD integration is so critical for so many developers to integrate into your existing flow, your existing processes. I think that really is a critical thing and a great aspect of building with Teams Toolkit and the CLI. Now, we want to keep things moving today. We know everyone's eager to go see the custom engine agent stuff after us, but I do want to come back to each of you and kind of get just another thought on this while we have you here. And, I'm going to come back to you in kind of a lightning round and just ask you, what's one thing you think that every developer should know about AI right now, especially given what you're working on in AI Core?
I will say the one thing every developer should know is that there's a plethora of AI tools that are here to elevate your work to new heights. And there are just, think about them as catalysts for innovation and efficiency. I know that it can feel daunting to navigate all of the different options, but really thinking about, okay, who's your target audience? What are the set of channels that you're going to use for your application? And then what are the tools that are available for you from the entire development lifecycle? And I bet that we have great options across each of one of the phases that you have in the development. And these tools can inspire you to think differently and offer a fresh perspective and solutions that you might have not considered before. So embrace them, embrace the tools that we have to offer with enthusiasm and open mind. And they're designed to be your partners in development, enhancing your skills and expanding what's possible.
Perfect. Embrace the tools, the importance of tools. And certainly we've talked about Teams Toolkit. There's Azure AI Studio, there's GitHub Copilot, lots of great tools that a lot of developers should check out. Some of them now AI enhanced. And so Pablo, I'll go to you next here, staying on this lightning round. You talked a bit about Azure AI Search and some of the capabilities a moment ago, but if you think there's a hidden gem or something that maybe is not as obvious to developers checking out Azure AI Search for the first time, what might that be that really highlights its ability to help build these agents?
Hard to pick. So I would say, these days it's very common as a pattern for when you create search engines for generative AI applications. Often people use these vector databases because they're great at capturing semantics and whatnot. But people that have been working on search for a long time have shown that one approach is perfect for everything. You want to kind of get the best of everything. In Azure Search, we support this capability called hybrid search with semantic re-ranking. Semantic re-ranking, I think, is one of these hidden gems that you're talking about, where it's a system that we put a ton of effort on. These people have been working on search for decades, built it, and it's a really I think you just enable and you get this huge improvement in quality in most scenarios with very little work. And again, as we said before, the quality of these agent experiences is highly connected to your ability to find the right data to produce the right answer. And this will help you right out of the box with that. So I would go with more about semantic ranker if you're curious about Azure AI Search and what it has to offer.
Got it. Semantic ranker, it's something we should all check out. And as Yina said, there's so many topics. All of us are overwhelmed with new topics. Anything that works out of the box to make it better sounds like a place to start. And John, I'm going to go to you last year to wrap up our lightning round. You told us about Teams Toolkit again a moment ago. What is your favorite feature? I mean, you've worked with it for a while. You've seen a lot. What's your favorite feature with Teams Toolkit for simplifying Copilot agent development?
I have to echo what Pablo said. It's hard to pick.
I know I'm asking you to pick among your favorites. So
right.
For the sake of today.
Sure. My favorite is probably what I like to refer to as our composable automation features. So this is kind of a task runner system that we've built to help simplify what would otherwise be tedious setup for combining all the different features that you need to be able to run these apps. And so we have kind of a task running system that helps you get started. And we have a lot of defaults for that, like creating app IDs, registering enter apps, registering these things as bots, et cetera. Lots of setup you'd have to do as a developer. And if you use our extensions in VS and VS Code, we can also set up developer tunnels so you can run and debug these things. And there's kind of a lot you have to get started with. But fortunately, with the toolkit, you can just get started, press F5 or start debugging in the tools or run them, and we'll automate all of that for you. What's cool about that, though, is as it gets more complicated or your project gets more complicated, you have the ability to go in and tinker with that. So you can choose if you want to add more to it or remove some away. Maybe you don't need some of those features or you want to add something custom. So it gets pretty fun and interesting what combinations you can do to be able to build your different apps for these things. So I think that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, excellent. And always fast time to F5. That always feels like a good thing if I can get there quickly. But I love the idea of going back in and be able to configure over time. Well, again, I know this is a quick segment, but I do want to thank you, Yina, Pablo, John, for spending a few minutes with us today, sharing your insights. You are really helping lead the way on a lot of these different AI fronts. And I hope that everyone who's here today will go check out some of the things you heard about today. Go check out Azure AI Search, Teams Toolkit, check out the AI services on Microsoft's AI platform. But we're going to continue our discussion now today. And the next segment is going to be talking about custom engine copilots, where you will see a lot of what we just talked about put into action. You're going to see AI models, you're going to see Azure AI Search, and of course, you're going to see Teams Toolkit all being used in some live demos. And for that, I'm going to hand it off to my next presenters here. So over to you, Aicha and Tomami.
All right, that was quite an interesting panel discussion. What did you think, Aicha?
Exactly. That was really inspiring. If we get all really excited about what product leaders said, let's see how we can actually use these products in Copilot agents. Let's start, Tomami.
Cool. All right. So we're going to talk about custom engine agent in this session, and we're going to talk about what it is and how to build. So you just learned about declarative agents, right? And well, we have another type of agent here that's called custom engine agents. And both are, conversational agents, but there are some fundamental differences, which is declarative agents are built on top of, Microsoft 365 Copilot, and it uses its foundational model and orchestrator. On the other hand, custom engine agents, well, it's not using Copilot, so basically you bring your own. So yeah, you might wonder, so which agent should I build? Well, I would say you should try both, but I suggest custom engine agent if you want to use model and orchestrator of your choice. And when you want to support something like agentic support for something complex, like complex workflows means like multitasking kind of flow, or maybe something like using proactive triggers, asynchronous processing, and things like that. Like anything complex, maybe this is a better choice. And when you want your service to be independent from Microsoft 365 Copilot, when you want to cater your service to basically everybody out there, so that might be a great choice.
Yeah, and Tomami, I know that a lot of developers watching us right now may already know about traditional bots. What is the difference between traditional bots to custom engine agent?
Well, honestly, custom engine agents are like TeamSpot, TeamSpot, but smarter with AI. So if you have built, TeamSpot, you are already familiar with, custom engine agent here. So, well, when you want to make it smarter, you use something called a Teams AI library. And that, makes the bot more intelligent and personalized. And that would understand like whole natural, facilitate natural conversation. That means, you recognize user intent and know how to deal with it, like what maps with the next actions and generate answers and things like that. And a custom engine agent is basically conversational and contextual. It uses M365 chat interface. I say that at the highest our UX principles. So, this chat comes with something like what we call streaming, like typing kind of stuff, or like reference and citations for each generated answer. So it knows what sources they use. Things like AI leveling, like generated by AI kind of leveling. So your users know they're dealing with AI and sensitivity levels and all that. So you don't have to create a whole UX from scratch. And again, the building natural language processing that understand user intent. And as a user, as a developer, you can do the prompt engineering moderation for further customization of this bot. Well, I would say agent. And LLM modularity means, so Teams AI library, by default, it uses OpenAI's GPT model, but you can swap it out. Yeah, all right, so that was really like a short explanation of what custom engine agents are. But now, I just gonna show you some real life example here.
Awesome. Thanks, Tomomi, for the introduction of custom engine agents. Now, I'm going to show you this awesome human resources expert, Career Genie. Career Genie is custom engine agent that leverages Teams AI library. It's also very friendly and helps with all of the HR queries. So let's have a closer look to Career Genie and how it actually works. I'll start by saying hi. And you will see the behavior right away. And the first thing I recognize is AI generated label. And also we have sensitivity label. You also have feedback loop, thumbs up, thumbs down. You can share more feedback about the answer if you liked it or not. And after that, I just want to share with you that Career Genie can handle more than just this answer. We can actually ask questions like, suggest me .NET developers who can speak Spanish. And Career Genie is actually connected to Azure AI Search behind the scenes. So it can apply vector search on top of a bunch of resumes we already had behind the scenes. There are more complex tasks I also want to share with you Career Genie can handle. First of all, we can authenticate in Career Genie using SSO. And we can ask questions like, again, suggest me .NET developers, but Career Genie can handle creating lists, adding people in the list. So let's say that we add Isaac in a list, and we can also say add Anthony in the same list with Isaac. Career Genie will understand the task right away and will add Anthony in the same list. So in that case, if we summarize the list, you will see that both Anthony and Isaac in the same list. We can create multiple lists, more than one. Let's say that we create a list for Sarah, and we can add Python developers in that list. We can also create the third list for 10 plus years experience, and so on and so forth. We can add more candidates in the list, remove them, switch them to in between lists, and in the end, we will see all the lists and candidates available. Once we are settled, though, we can actually see all the lists in our summary, and we can send our list to HR. If you go to our Outlook very quickly, I can show you that this list is already sent to HR and ready for scheduling for all the candidates we've shared already. So this is a scenario I wanted to share with you so far with Career Genie. And I also want to share more about, how we can actually get started building those.
Cool. That really looks like, productivity booster, right? But can you show us how to build it?
Of course. So it's no surprise to a lot of developers, we're going to use Teams Toolkit. So anyone who installed Teams Toolkit right now in Visual Studio Code, it's an extension in VS Code. You can just go to Teams Toolkit and create a new app. You can select Custom Engine Agent, and then you can select Basic AI Chatbot. You can select the language of your choice, Azure OpenAI. After you share your keys, the only thing you have to do is just providing a name for your Custom Engine Agent. And then you just need to go to prompts, chat, and escape prompt. You just need to provide a meta prompt here. And after you hit debug, and we can use test tool for easy debugging, you will just be able to chat with Career Genie with the right behavior, right characteristic right away. But here, as we can see, currently it can only provide us, let's say, help us with job posts, etc. So it's not actually 100% Career Genie yet. It's just the prompts we provided so far.
So you just show us like a really basic setup here, right? All right. Yes. So can you show us like how to add more features and all that?
Yes, exactly. So let me actually show you how we add other features I've shared earlier. So let's start with some core concepts. I will just start with core AI concepts. If you go to app folder in the app.ts, the first thing we recognize coming from Teams AI library is the AI components, which are model, prompt, planner, and in prompts, you will recognize that there's prompts folder. This is the place we actually keep all of our prompt settings in config.json and also prompt itself in skprompt.txt. So this is the prompt I pasted in our Teams Toolkit custom engine project earlier. This is the place where I define the characteristics of Career Genie. But where does the data come from? Data comes actually from config.json. config.json is the place where I define Azure Search as the data source. And we also define some parameters here to make it work in our custom engine agent. If you go to app.ts, I also want to share with you a few other user experience enhancements. First of all, we can say that we can actually add feedback loop. We can also share our answers from Career Genie with adaptive card. And here I already defined AI label and also sensitivity label. You can use all of these UX enhancements in your project. And another important component is the authentication. By just adding authentication in your app, you'll be able to leverage Graph and all of the data coming with Graph. And finally, the most important piece is the actions. For actions, I define like creating lists, adding lists, etc. I use another prompt. I defined monologue prompt, and here we have actions.json. Actions.json has all of the actions we defined so far, like add candidates, remove candidates, create lists, remove lists, send lists to HR, etc. If you go to app.ts, you'll see that all actions are defined in the AI already. And finally, in actions.ts, we have function for each individual action here. So this is basically how Career Genie works. It's a complex setup, but as you can see, everything is provided by Teams AI Library. So step by step, you can add all of these features in your own custom engine agent too.
Excellent. But where can we learn more about? Where's the resource?
Great question, Tamami. Thanks for asking that. All right. So everyone, if you go to ak.ms/Copilot Dev Camp, this is the place where you can find building your own Career Genie labs. I'm going to show you, actually, if you go to this AKA link, you will be directed to our Copilot Developer Camp repo. And here, if you go to build path, then this is the path we have labs for building Career Genie, building your own agent. So here, the first step is lab 0, where you can actually get prepared and set up everything to get going. And in the first lab, you will be building custom engine agent. In the second lab, you will be adding Azure AI Search with retrieval augmented generation. The third one is for user experience enhancement. Fourth is for authentication. And the last one is for actions, as we define all of the handling lists, adding candidates, and so on and so forth. After completing all of these labs, you will actually run Career Genie in your own environment, which is awesome. So if anyone is interested in building their own custom engine agent and building their own Career Genie and testing it out, go to ak.ms/Copilot Dev Camp.
Cool.
This is basically all we wanted to share with Tomomi in this session. And we have amazing session coming up right after us. Donna will be actually interviewing Teams AI Library product team in studio, asking more questions about custom engine agents. So let's go to the studio.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we're reaching the end of our program today, but we're not letting you go without a deep dive. Well, not a deep dive, but more of a teaser on this thing called custom engine agents. And I could explain it to you, or we've actually corralled an expert. This is the good news about having experts who actually work at Microsoft. We can corral them randomly in the hallways and say, come and explain to people what custom engine agents are and how people can use them. Everyone, please meet Ankit, who works on the product.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ankit. I work on Teams platform, and I work on an array of AI products that includes custom engine agents as well as Teams AI library. And I'm here to help answer any questions.
That is lovely of you. Thank you. Okay, so first, please tell us what are custom engine agents and why are they different than regular agents?
Absolutely. So custom engine agents are a great tool for anybody who's trying to build AI solutions. And what they do and solve for is allow AI developers to bring in their AI solutions into the Microsoft ecosystem.
Okay.
And on top of it, they can easily connect their data, which they would have built over years, and allow the AI to reason over it so that they can provide quality responses to the end users. And the final thing is to simplify all of this and gain user trust, we have built a lot of UXs that includes adaptive card, that includes citations that helps them gain user trust because all of this information is very well organized and his user is able to find meaningful answers to their questions.
Okay, I love that because you're saying, devs, let us meet you where you are.
Yeah.
Right? You've already built the solution.
Yeah.
You've already connected with your data, which was a lot of work, I'm sure, because first get your data in order. Step 1, step 2, connect your AI thing to your data. Third, make sure it's working.
Yeah.
So now what you really want to do is have this available on surfaces that their users use a lot.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I love that idea. So as a developer, what are some things that devs should think about as they're going through this process? Because I'm going to ask you about practical use cases, but as a developer, what are some things we should think of, especially for someone like me who's never used this before?
Right. So I think for a developer, I think there are a lot of value in which for building a custom engine agents primarily comes from the fact that they can bring their own AI infrastructure into Microsoft ecosystem. A lot of our partners have invested in AI infrastructure, and they have built and they have the expertise in the AI domain, and they have that goodness that which they can bring to the Microsoft ecosystem. The multi-channel distribution which you were talking about, that's incredibly powerful because what it allows is, let's say you are building for Teams to begin with, it can easily be extended to, let's say, other Microsoft Hub, Word, Excel, and in potentially you can also have a Copilot solution that's working together, what you have built as an agent together. So all of this goodness and a continuous investments in agentic as well as the UX layer, which we talked about, can be beneficial for the developers who keep building for their customers, and in totality would be bringing a great AI solution.
I love that because you're looking at a developer's job not as just writing code, but really setting up an ecosystem where that code will live and be used.
And I think that's the goodness of AI.
Yeah, I do love that. What I like about this is you're saying write once, organize it, make it good, but you can run it in all of these places.
Absolutely.
And you're also saying we're trying to make that easier for you rather than old school dev ways, which is you've got to write a Teams version. Now you have to write a version for like the SharePoint site.
Yeah,
Now you need a third version for that other thing. So I love that. That's really very smart, very dev focused. I like it. So I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of practical use cases and scenarios. What are some?
Oh, I think our partners are building a lot in terms of AI solutions, but I think the one which captures what we have been talking about really well is one in the financial domain. They have built a financial agent. What it does, it helps the financial analyst bring and research companies in a very organized fashion. What they have hooked up is they have built in their AI model, which is trained over their tons and tons of proprietary data which they have, and they've hooked it up with the proprietary data sets about companies, their financials over the years, and together they provide them incredible answers. And to top it all, we have the UX layer, which organizes this information in a very simplified fashion for any researcher who is trying to informate, and they can cite it, what they're citing the sources from, and somebody who's analyzing that information can do that in a matter of minutes, which earlier would take them hours. So.
Oh yeah, that would take them hours if we're lucky.
So that's very powerful for them.
Yeah, if we're lucky, right? If they're lucky.
Exactly.
What is very interesting about that scenario is that the finance industry is actually more ready to AI than most industries,
That's
right?
true.
Because they have regulations, they have to have their data tabular or otherwise in some sort of an order, right? Otherwise, you're not going to do financial things. So I find it very fascinating that finance industry has already figured out, like, oh, how can I make AI even more sophisticated?
True.
Do more stuff for me rather than having to do a lot of stuff for AI.
Yeah.
So I do like that finance industry is already moving fast into this space.
That's very true. I think a lot of scenarios are coming from finances, as you said it. They have the data already available, which they have reasoned over, and they've secluded that data, which they can easily use for training. And most of them are developing as separate AI solutions.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. A lot of this is coming, but I think that will gradually get down as we talk about more industry will find, right? And healthcare also is finding a lot of value. So it's extending a lot of value in the different segments.
And these are such data heavy industries, right? Healthcare data, oh my gosh, right?
That's true.
And a lot of it is, it's so hard to reason over because you've got just people moving from healthcare service here to there, the number of patients, that they tend to, et cetera, et cetera.
True.
So, yeah.
And I think, as you said, the data is incredibly important because one of the challenges with AI is hallucination.
Yes.
So as you start asking questions, if you have not grounded it into something that really understand or connects with the sources where it's really credible in source or authentic source for the user, it can hallucinate and answer you anything that would make no sense. So it's very important for most of this, especially healthcare, financial, because each decision is a dollar cost, which you're sharing in terms of information. So yeah, it's very important.
What's that? He said, let's review from the top, louder for the people in the back. Step 1, get your data in order. Step 2, ground in the data. Step 3, figure out your AI solution. Step 4, use custom engine agents. Yes?
That's right.
Perfect. Look at that. Look at us put together a flow chart for you devs. Okay. Thank you so much for being here with all of us.
Right.
Call to action. What do you want everyone to do?
I think one of the things is, as we talked about different solutions, if you're starting and you're just looking to start with the AI solutions, a great solution is Teams AI Library, where you find a lot of value
Teams AI Library.
in terms of starting putting your code together. You'll get a good set of things to work with, and you will be able to connect your AI solutions as well as connect with bring it to Teams very quickly. Now, if you are looking for even faster solution, use Teams Toolkit, because you will be able to get it up and running in a matter of a few minutes. You can get that first custom engine agents where you can start seeing the power of it and what it can do. And in addition, where it's not necessary, Azure OpenAI, because of the incredible amount of goodness it brings in terms of responsible AI, the content moderation it brings in. Obviously, you can pick any model, but I think this is incredibly quite important when you're trying to build solution for enterprises. And the last one is bringing all of this information. We have the Copilot Developer Camp, which is happening, which organizes every resources which we have talked about, bring them together in a very organization manner. If you're building solutions, be it a custom engine agent or anything else, they have organized this information pretty well. And anybody who is starting, any developer who is starting will find it very helpful. So highly recommended to check it out.
Copilot Developer Camp. We should just take him everywhere, right? Like, he spelled it out so well. But it's true though, right? So you've got Teams AI Library, Teams Toolkit, then Azure OpenAI Service, because then you have to learn how to do content moderation. Okay, you got to learn that. And Copilot Dev Camp is going to give you all of the tools you need in one place to learn what it means to be a modern developer, which is kind of what we all have to learn now, right? True. We all have to learn to do our jobs slightly more efficiently, but also more funly. Absolutely. More funly is not a word, but you know what I mean. Okay, speaking of funly, it is time for a doodle break. So we're going to say goodbye to you now and bounce over to Tomomi. Thank you so much.
Bye.
I hope you're excited about building something cool. So in this short segment, I'm going to recap what custom engine agents are. In the Microsoft 365 world, there are two types of agents. As a developer, you can choose which type of agent you want to build, either a declarative agent or custom engine agent. Here's a custom engine agent running on the chat interface on Teams. You can think this as a Teams bot, but smarter with Gen AI. Unlike declarative agents, custom engine agents are independent from Microsoft 365 Copilot. They are developed using custom foundation models and orchestrators, and can be tailored to specific enterprise needs with your own tech stack. You can pick models like LLM or SLM, which is small language model. And you can also use your own orchestrator, such as Semantic Kernel, or choose a third-party framework like LangChain. For additional data sources, you can use Microsoft Graph, and also have the freedom to add a custom RAG with something like VectorDB. So thank you for joining me.
That was an amazing doodle from Tomomi. And here we are at the last segment of the event, the wrap on Microsoft 365 Copilot Developer Camp. We hope you learned a lot and had fun. And if you liked what you saw, we have many more exciting opportunities ahead. So Kamal's here to share some more.
Thanks, Daisy. Welcome all to the final segment of this event. This will be an in-person workshop held in 30+ cities for professional developers who wants to learn about building Copilot agent and transform the way we work in Microsoft 365. This camp is totally free and a half-day workshop post-AI tour. So if you really enjoyed today's session, then definitely you should not miss the in-person event, which you will get to know more about this. So it's happening in these 30+ cities, and we have already done with Mexico, Sao Paulo, and today we completed the Rome. And next week we do have in Munich and Madrid. So as I told you, what is more important, or what you could get covered in the in-person, is you get to know about the Microsoft 365 Copilot capabilities and extensibility AI model, various methods to develop Copilot agent, which leveraging Microsoft 365 Copilot AI and orchestration, how to create custom engine agent using Azure AI Studio and Teams AI library. And finally, developing a declarative agent with a build custom action for your agent through API plugins. And these are the cities where we have successfully launched the Copilot Developer Camp, and it's running successfully. And so what are you waiting for? Get yourself registered by the nearest city and learn from the team of experts and dwell into the world of Copilot Agent. For more information, hop onto this link and find out more details about the Copilot Developer Camp. See you soon.